What's happening, y'all? Welcome inside the Fantasy Stock Exchange. Danny and Bush coming at you with another episode 34 of Dynasty Decisions. If you guys are new around here, this is where we take your questions, your trade questions, rookie pick questions. Should I be rebuilding? Should I be contending type of questions? And we talk about your Dynasty teams, all the things that you have relating to Dynasty Fantasy Football. If you guys want to be a part of Dynasty Decisions, a couple of ways you can do so. First priority goes to our patrons, so you can join us over on patreon.com/fantasy stock exchange. Link is in the description for that. Or you can message us on Twitter or in our Discord, which is both links down below as well. So if you enjoyed this video at any point, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. We are at about 9.2K subscribers right now, trying to get to 10,000 around the time of the NFL draft, about that time. So if you haven't already done so, please hit the subscribe button. Danny, how are you doing today?
Doing well. And yeah, just kind of ready to roll. Put the GM caps on for you guys. Take over these Dynasty Decision submissions and help you guys get to that ultimate goal of a championship, baby. Let's go.
Yep. Without further ado, said the intro. All right, the first question we have here is from Ernest. He is a patron of ours. Like I said, you guys get first priority if you become a patron of ours on patreon.com/fantasy stock exchange. You'll also get our Dynasty Rankings Manifesto. If you're curious, you have a startup coming up and you want to know where you should take, certain guys in the startup. If you have a rookie draft coming up, our rookie rankings are in there as well. So Ernest says, new Superflex tight end premium league that he just joined. He just found out that rookies are included in this draft. And we're actually in a startup right now where we're drafting rookie picks as well. Most lists out there have their dynasty and rookie lists separate. Where would you be drafting the top guys at each position among, the top wide receivers, running backs, and quarterbacks? Me and you can kind of just go through our rankings right now and talk about where we have everybody.
For sure.
In terms of my rankings, I'll just go real quick. I have Malik Willis right now. He is currently my foundational quarterback. So I think the easiest way to go through this is to compare them among young players. It's hard to know where to take a guy like Malik Willis over like Aaron Rodgers because it's like a completely different situation. But I have Malik Willis right now, right behind Trevor Lawrence. I have Sam Howell right behind Malik Willis. Then I have Tua Tagovailoa, Mac Jones, and then I have Kenny Pickett and Matt Corral. So the top quarterbacks for me are all in that tier with Mac Jones and Tua Tagovailoa among the young quarterbacks for me.
For sure. And I personally have Malik a little bit higher. I guess I am the Malik truther, if you will. So currently after the top three being, the top 15 type of picks, Herbert, Murray, and Lance, I have him in a tier with Justin Fields leading it, Trevor Lawrence, Malik, Jalen Hurts, and Zach Wilson. So the kind of young high picks from last year. And obviously with Jalen Hurts, you got the guy that just finished as a top 5 quarterback on a point per game basis. That's kind of where I align Malik Willis. The way I kind of view Malik Willis, as I've kind of said in the past, is that he has the ability to break fantasy football from Jalen Hurts regard with his legs, and obviously Malik Willis in terms of his pure natural arm talent. And he should be getting that first round insulated draft capital, which, as we know from a fantasy football perspective, especially from a quarterback perspective, gives you a lot more value long term because a team is more willing to invest in you. Because again, at the end of the day here, a first round top 10, top 15 type of pick is going to be more valuable to a team in terms of building than a second round pick. Although we don't want to kind of admit that, that's kind of how teams kind of have operated in the past.
Yep, for sure. So onto the running back position. Yep. I currently have Breece Hall right now overall as my one second. I have him overall as my RB7. You have him as your RB4 overall. In terms of my bucketed rankings, he is my RB6. The only running back that is older is Christian McCaffrey. That's ahead of him for me in the rankings. Breece Hall is my RB6 behind J.K. Dobbins, just ahead of Antonio Gibson and Cam Akers, within that tier of like third tier running backs behind my second tier of Javonte, DeAndre Swift, Najee Harris, and then the tier of his own with Jonathan Taylor as my top running back. So that's where I kind of see Breece Hall. I know you have him a little bit higher than me. Do you have him within the same tier as DeAndre Swift and Najee Harris and those guys?
I do. I actually do have Breece Hall up there. The way I kind of look at Breece Hall, I understand like we weren't absolutely in love with his film, but all the peripherals, all the draft capital, all the athleticism check boxes that we were looking for, he has met. So although I don't think that he's, by far the best running back in this class that a lot of people on Twitter seem to share the belief in, The fact that he should get high draft capital, the fact that he has the athletic talent that he has, and the fact that he should figure into a workhorse role as soon as he gets drafted, I'm willing to take him off the board, sub 21, given his pass catching ideals or ordeals that he's shown in college. I'm willing to invest a top 30, fringe top 25 type of pick in startup drafts on him.
What about the other two top running backs? Right now, I have my fourth tier of running backs is headed by Travis Etienne. And then behind Travis Etienne, I have Isaiah Spiller. Behind Isaiah Spiller, I have Kenneth Walker. So that's kind of the range I see those two guys.
Exact same.
And then I have David Montgomery, Elijah Mitchell, and Josh Jacobs all within that same tier. So that's pretty much where I see. So if you're in your startup draft and you're looking, should I pick, Isaiah Spiller or should I pick Elijah Mitchell? I personally would go with a guy like Isaiah Spiller. But if, Antonio Gibson is still on the board, I would go with a guy like that or Cam Akers or J.K. Dobbins. I have those guys pretty significantly higher than those other, non-Breece Hall running backs in this draft class. You just said you kind of have it the same way. We could probably move on to the wide receiver position. At the wide receiver position, the top guys, the way I have them ranked is they're like in my teens right now in terms of like my overall rankings. And then when I go to my foundational rankings among the young wide receivers, I have a big second tier of wide receiver that includes A.J. Brown, Jalen Waddle, T. Higgins, CeeDee Lamb, DK Metcalf, and DJ Moore. DJ Moore is just about 25, so he will actually be moving to in his prime tier very soon. And then from wide receiver 9 in my foundational rankings to wide receiver 14, I have Elijah Moore, and then I have Drake London, Treylon Burks, Garrett Wilson, and then I have Devontae Smith. So that's kind of that tier where I see those guys there.
Yeah, no, for sure. I have it the same way. So heading that tier with the rookies, I have Elijah Moore at 9, right after DK Metcalf, 10 being Treylon Burks, 11 Drake London, and 12 being Garrett Wilson. 12, because I guess I inputted it wrong. But either way, 9 to 12 would be that Elijah Moore and those rookie wide receivers. I think all of them can be locked and loaded top wide receiver assets as soon as they come into the NFL, which as a result, as you guys have seen in our mock drafts, would indicate that they are worth those top of the line first round rookie picks that we've shown in our startup or rookie mock drafts that we've kind of put out already.
Yeah. And in terms of like overall wide receiver rankings, if you're on the board and you see, Chris Godwin versus these young wide receivers, I would take, these top 3 in this draft class over Chris Godwin. When the guys that I have above the top 3 rookie wide receivers in this class that are not like young guys are Diggs, Deontay Johnson, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp, and Deebo Samuel. Those are the guys that I have that aren't, currently in that foundational bucket for me. They're over the age of 25. So those are the guys that I would take over if those guys are all off the board, or if you're just going for a more value accumulation type of startup, strategy. That is probably where I'm going with. And then quickly, we'll just touch on Trey McBride and the tight ends, and then we'll move on to another question because we've already been talking about this for a little bit, but I think this is, a good conversation to have. I have Trey McBride, who is my current top rookie tight end, and Jalen Weidermeyer, who is my second top rookie tight end. I have Trey McBride as my tight end 17 overall. So I'm not all that high on this tight end class. I know the NFL isn't the highest on this tight end class either. Maybe these guys get day 2 draft capital, but from what I've heard from guys like Daniel Jeremiah and Mel Kiper and Todd McShay is that they expect no tight ends to be off the board probably in the first 2 rounds of the draft, and rounds 3 and 4, a bunch of them to come off because they're kind of all like mid-round caliber prospects. None of them really stand out. So as of right now, I have Trey McBride below Hunter Henry, Irv Smith, Albert Okwuegbunam, Cole Kmet, Noah Fant type of area. So if you have, that's like what the mid to late second round value of a rookie draft. I'm not all that high on this tight end class. So in terms of like Trey McBride and Jalen Weidermeyer, I'm probably going to wait until those, young guys that we're a little bit more excited about go off the board.
Yeah, I currently have McBride as my tight end 15, and I kind of share that sentiment. Like if you're in an actual rookie draft watching this, maybe back end of the second, early third, if he gets certain draft capital, I can plausibly see being worth. But I mean, in a startup, we're talking about a guy that's probably like a 12th, 13th round pick with 3rd round draft capital. Like I'm not too overly excited. If I were to compare it, I would rather a guy like Cole Kmet, who's finding himself, in the 11th, 12th round area over any of these rookie tight ends.
Right, who had 2nd round draft capital, has a young, exciting quarterback with him, and already has the dreaded first 2 seasons of a tight end's career out of the way, which we know, tight ends typically take a little bit to develop. You don't have to worry about that with a 3rd-year tight end as opposed to a rookie tight end. So Let's move on to the next team we have here. Tim's team, again, another patron of ours, 10-team, one quarterback PPR league. He sent in his team, I believe, last week or 2 weeks ago, but he's made a couple moves since then. So he just wanted us to go over the recent moves. He said he traded away Adam Thielen for the 108, which to me is just a phenomenal trade. I have no idea how you, even in a one quarterback league, I still think that's a phenomenal move to make. You can probably still get, Chris Olave, Jameson Williams type at 108, and I would much rather those guys than Adam Thielen.
That's a phenomenal deal. Moving off an old depreciating asset that Thielen is. Like, yeah, if you're a win now contender and in a one quarterback league, you want to move, in early to mid second for him, sure. But the fact that you're able to net the 108 from somebody, this is just an excellent move on your part. Being able to recognize your league dynamic, recognize your league market, and understand that these older win now type of assets still have a ton of appeal to certain teams. So phenomenal value capitalization here. He kind of wanted us to go through these other deals. I'll let you kind of, announce them here.
Yeah, so he made, looks like a pretty big trade involving a lot of pieces. You guys can see it on the screen there. I'm assuming that's Kirk Cousins and not Christian Kirk. It just says Kirk there. It's a one quarterback league, so I'm just going to assume it's Kirk Cousins.
I think it'd be Christian Kirk because everybody else has their last name.
Fair enough. Okay, so I'll go Christian Kirk, Bateman, Van Jefferson, Quintez Cephas, Jarrett Patterson, and then you got a 2023 late first, his own pick back. He also got a 2023 early to mid second, a 2024 first mid to late projected, and then a 2024 mid second. And it looks like he's trading away Saquon Barkley, Brandon Ayuk, and the 2022 105. I'm not sure if he actually made this trade or if this is a trade that is currently on the table for him right now. But either way, I kind of like the Saquon side of this. I think this is a little bit more noise than I'm willing to give up because in terms of the late first next year, I personally would rather have the 105 than a late first in next year's class. It's pretty close, but that's probably about equal value for me. Ayuk is worth probably a 2024 first, mid to late projected. And I would also say the mid second in 2024 as well. And then it's basically Saquon Barkley for an early to mid second in 2023, plus all the noise that you got outside of Rashad Bateman, really. Yeah. So I personally would take the three, solid assets over the package.
Yeah, I would probably agree there. Now, if the first that you got back was early to mid, I would be more willing to make this type of move. But the fact that you do expect it to be late, I mean, looking at your roster right now, you're clearly in a win now with, guys like Kelsey, Herbert, Javonte, Gibson, Dobbins. Like your team is clearly one of the top teams in your league. So the fact that you do say late first, my own pick back, I would agree with you. That's probably going to end up figuring in a one quarterback league to be the late first. I think personally, if you were to make this move, it would be a lot more digestible if it was the 108, but even if it was still the 108, I would probably lean the Saquon side, especially in your position as a win now player.
Yeah, for sure. Now, again, I don't know if he already made this trade or if this is a trade that you're mulling over or whatever, but either way, I do like the side that you have currently on your roster listed here. He also has a couple other questions. I'll just kind of speed through these so we don't spend a ton of time on his team. I only have one open roster spot. He needs to clear 5 more spots to use all of his rookie picks. What off the top of your head, I don't know if he has a taxi squad or anything. So let's just say, who are the 4 players that you would chop if you need to?
Noah Gray's
that you would need to chop.
Noah Gray's worthless to me. Yeah. Jalen Reagor is worthless to me. Zay Jones is worthless to me. Devontae Booker is worthless to me. And then the 5th and final player, I mean, probably Isaiah McKenzie.
Yeah, I would say it's probably between Edwards and Isaiah McKenzie, but Edwards could have some handcuff value behind Dobbins, so I don't know if you want to get rid of him. I'd probably go with Isaiah McKenzie as well. And then if you have a taxi squad, I'm assuming you might have something like that, then I would probably just throw a bunch of your 206, 207, 307 rookie picks on your taxi squad for the time being. But if you don't have a taxi squad, then yeah, I agree. Those were the players that I would probably drop as well. Talking to other managers, draft order seems to be wide receiver for picks 1 to 3. So it sounds like Wilson, London, and Burks are going to be the first 3 picks off the board. He has the 105. He said thoughts on the 105 if Breece goes 104. Now, in my opinion, if you think Breece is going 104, I would trade for the 104 with your 105.
Trade up. Yeah. I fully agree with you there. 105 is such a dead pick. Even if you have to give up, honest to God, in a one quarterback league, you have to give up 105 and 201 just to get Breece. I'd fucking do it in a heartbeat.
I would as well. Now, I would only do this if you can guarantee me that that that's going to be the case. Because if you're telling me that you just have a hunch that that's going to be the case, I'd probably just stick and pick at 105. There's probably a good chance somebody will take Kenneth Walker before 105, and you'll get one of those top 3 receivers. But if you know for a fact that those top 3 picks are wide receivers, I'm probably going to move the 105. And like Danny said, the 201, you probably won't even have to give that up. But if you do, I'm okay giving that up. If you have to move the 105 plus, Robert Woods just got traded to the Titans or something, just throw in Robert Woods in the 105 for the 104 or something like that, just to secure Breece Hall, I'm absolutely willing to do something like that.
Absolutely. He also has a couple scenarios here. Trade targets for DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins, if he still has value in your leagues, I would look for a comparable player that has young appreciating value. Like if you can, looking at my rankings right now, I don't know necessarily how the league kind of values these older, on the downturn type of wide receivers like Hopkins. But if you can get Marquise Brown, you have to give Hopkins in a 2 to get Marquise Brown. I'm willing to do that.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I currently have Hopkins, rated below Marquise Brown in terms of my overall dynasty rankings. If you want to go for another like similarly usable guy that's like also in his, his prime, but is a little bit younger, I don't mind going after a guy like Michael Thomas or Chris Godwin, who are both, a little bit injury question marks right now, but are going to have a little bit more long-term appeal than what DeAndre Hopkins can present. And if you're just looking for immediate production, but maybe someone who's a little bit more stable, if you can flip him for Keenan Allen too, I wouldn't mind something like that.
Yeah, I fully agree. Heck, I would take even Keenan Allen's teammate Mike Williams over Hopkins at this point too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. And then he also says here, trade targets for James Robinson. I'll let you kind of, gauge.
I probably am just going to hold James Robinson at this point because nobody's going to give you anything of value because he just tore his Achilles. If somebody's willing to give you like an early to mid second, I'm like, by all means, take that trade. But I highly doubt you're going to get that kind of value for James Robinson. So I'd probably just hold him for the time being and then trade targets for Saquon. So again, it does sound like he didn't make this first trade. And he's looking to move off of Saquon Barkley. I mean, I can understand why he's been, injured in recent years and stuff, but I do think the best time to sell Saquon Barkley is whenever he gets on the field and proves that he's not injured anymore, because he's always going to have this stigma throughout this entire offseason that he can't stay healthy. And he also has this kind of like looming decision around if he's going to be with the Giants going forward too. So I would probably hold on Saquon Barkley for the time being because you're probably not going to get great value in return for him, like you kind of outlined with the first trade that you signed. If you can get, 2023 first and a young running back, then by all means move on from Saquon Barkley. But I don't think you're going to get that kind of value for him. So I would probably just like, if you can move Saquon for, J.K. Dobbins is already on your team, but if you can move him for like Cam Akers, or you can move him for Travis Etienne in a second or something like that, I'd be willing to do something like that, but I don't think somebody's going to give you that package.
Yep. No, I fully agree with you. So overall, we can move on to the next team. That's going to be from our boy Bloody Sunday, aka Gavin. He lays out his team. This is actually a team that we actually shared the league in. This is the Mickey Mouse League, if you guys ever seen that on Twitter. But he basically wants to know what we should do with his team and where he should go with this pick. So, you guys can see the team on the team on the screen, but it's headlined by, Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, Travis Etienne, Devontae Smith with a couple other young, intriguing wide receivers, and Mark Andrews at tight end with a ton of draft capital in this year's draft. So I'll let you kind of take a look. I got an inside look at this as well because I'm actually in this league. So overall, as an outsider, what are your thoughts on the team and the picks that he's accumulated?
So it is Russ, not Zach Wilson, because you just have Wilson listed here. Yeah, so it's Russ. Okay. Overall, looking at this team, it looks like you're like well set up for the future. I would probably be looking to add at 103 and 104. I'd probably be looking to add best receiver available. If you want to go with like Kenneth Walker at the 104, I don't, hate that either because you do need, second running back. I don't know. Is White,
James White? James White. Yes.
Yeah, so
sorry
he's
about
really
that.
thin at running back. He went with like just ETN and then, value wide receivers from there on out. I don't mind adding a stud wide receiver and then adding Kenneth Walker. And then in the second round, maybe, Tyler Algier or Rachaad White gets a good landing spot and you can fill out your running back core that way. I do think if you hit on some of these rookie picks this year, this could be a pretty competitive team because your quarterbacks are good. You have, a lot of depth at wide receiver. You have a stud tight end. I think Travis Etienne could be great this year as well. So if you hit on the 103 and it's Drake London or Treylon Burks, and that would be huge for your team. And if you hit on the 104 and it's, Kenneth Walker, Isaiah Spiller or something like that, and then you get, maybe some good production out of some of your second rounders, I think this could be a team that you compete with, but also has a, bright future too.
Yeah, I mean, I fully agree with that sentiment as well. Obviously, I'm a bit biased because I may or may not actually have his 2023 first. But bias aside, I mean, at the end of the day, here we're helping to make everybody better dynasty players if we can. I fully agree. I expect the first two picks in this draft to end up being some combination of Malik Willis and Hall. I actually have the 102, so I know I'm definitely going with one of them. I expect, best receivers available to be there at the 103 and 104. Now, again, if you wanted to mix in a Kenneth Walker, Isaiah Spiller, maybe Isaiah Spiller has a good pro day, or Kenneth Walker gets super high draft capital, I wouldn't hate you for that too, given the status of your wide receiver and running back rooms respectively. In terms of those second rounders, I mean, Corey kind of hit the nail on the head there. 201, you could be looking at, a Jameson Williams falling, a David Bell type, George Pickens type, Sky Moore type. Same thing with the 203. And heck, if you wanted to mix in a guy like Tyler Algier, if he gets sufficient draft capital, I think that would also be a play. In terms of maybe potential trades that he can make with this potential roster that he has, what kind of sticks out to you?
Well, the one thing that makes me nervous is the fact that you don't really have a quarterback 3. And I mean, it's hard for me to say that you're going to replace that in the draft. Maybe at that 201, maybe you can get a quarterback, whatever one of the, like if Matt Corral, like let's say is the 4th quarterback off the board in the actual NFL draft and he's falling because he went to like the Lions or something like that at 32. I think you could definitely make a pick like that at 201. So I'd be eyeing that 201 pick if you can somehow get a quarterback with it, or in the rookie draft, maybe you trade up using the 201 to go secure your 3rd quarterback, because that is definitely a concern for your team, because behind Fields and Wilson, I mean, Darnold's trash and Huntley's behind Lamar Jackson. So I can't imagine that those guys are going to have a lot of long-term value. So 3rd quarterback would be the piece that I'd be looking to attack. Maybe you can use one of your wide receivers to go secure one too. If you can use Mooney in your 201 to go get, I'm trying to think somebody up like Tua Tagovailoa or something like that. That might be a little bit undervalued in the league, because I think the guys that you're playing with know that Zach Wilson's probably a decent buy low candidate. So I highly doubt you're going to get him for the 201 and Darnell Mooney.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with that. Heck, if you want to swing my way and gauge some offers for Tua, I actually have Tua in this league. I'm more than willing to part with a quarterback, because I mean, I've showed you this team, Corey, but all I have is draft picks and like 4 players. So I'm willing to keep getting draft capital. So hit me up, hit my line. I'm sure you're watching this, Gavin. And, I'm excited with this league as a whole.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So before we get into Anthony's team, got to pay some bills around here. Let's hear from our sponsors over at Manscaped. What's happening, y'all? Can I get a round of applause for everyone? Today, I am excited to announce that Manscaped has launched their Ultra Premium Collection. Believe it or not, this ad is not about your private parts. I'm talking about leveling up your hygiene routine with your favorite manly scent. This all-in-one skin and hair care kit for the everyday man covers you from head to toe, literally. Manscaped is trusted below the waist. Now you got to trust them with the rest. Join the 4 million men worldwide, including Danny and myself, who trust Manscaped by going to manscaped.com with promo code BUSH for 20% off plus free shipping. I know myself personally with these products, I really appreciate the fact that they are all, natural ingredients. All of the products are animal cruelty free and vegan and all that stuff. That stuff is really important to me. I like to know that what I'm putting on my body is very natural, and you don't get that benefit with store-bought stuff, hygiene products. And it's really important just to have a grooming routine in general. Now, we all know how essential the Manscaped Lawnmower 4.0 is, which you guys have heard us talk about in the past, for that precise trim below the belt. The advanced skin-safe technology reduces cuts to your most delicate areas. It's waterproof, so you can use it in the shower. But now you can enhance your perfect grooming routine with their Ultra Premium Collection. And this package includes the Manscaped Premium Deodorant. And no, it's not for your balls like we've talked about in the past. It's for your armpits. This deodorant dries clear, is aluminum free, and it smells like their signature scent. So it's not going to ruin any of your clothes. It's very natural. It smells great. Hydrating body moisturizer. If you have tattoos or if you have issues with dry skin in the winter, it's designed to keep your skin feeling clean, smooth, and smelling fresh as well. Body wash to lather you up with their infused aloe vera and sea salt shower gel. Again, very natural ingredients. You love knowing what's going on in your body. 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner to clean your scalp with one easy step. Plus a free gift, a 3-pack of lip balm that's made up with ingredients with vitamin E, peppermint, eucalyptus oil to keep those chappers feeling moist. That's 4 products plus a gift inside their Ultra Premium Collection. huge score. All of these products are cruelty-free, paraben-free, vegan-friendly, dye-free, the best products, best ingredients, zero compromise. This is how you're going to use them. You hop into the shower, scrub a dub-dub with the Manscaped body wash, lather your hair up, 2-in-1 shampoo conditioner to keep your noggin feeling good, dry off and spray the hydrating body moisturizer to reinvigorate your dry skin, and put on the Manscaped deodorant for, obvious reasons, and put on that Manscaped lip balm as well, because if you guys are, you have a spouse, significant other, nobody is going to kiss your chapped lips. So make sure you use that free gift as well. Getting dressed afterward is optional, of course, but wear one great scent all day long. I know myself personally, when I worked in an office atmosphere, they didn't appreciate when we wore colognes, heavy scents and stuff like that. This is a real light scent, really smells good, really smells natural, so you won't, infuriate your HR manager either. Get that ultra premium collection hot off the shelves, get 20% off and free shipping with the code BUSH at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with promo code BUSH at manscaped.com on their ultra premium collection. The power of attraction is now in a bottle thanks to Manscaped. Anthony's team, another patron, 12-team Superflex League. You guys can see the team on the screen. He's got Kyler, Lance, Zach Wilson, Tua, pretty deep quarterback core there. Najee, Javonte as his top 2 running backs. And then he has CD, Mooney, Claypool, etc. Andrews at tight end, 103, 204, 304. Also has 3 2023 first, 2023 second, 2 thirds, no first in 2024 though. So he has 3 trades on the screen here that you guys should be able to see. And then he also has a couple possible trades. So the first trade that he made was already completed. He had received Chase Claypool, the 205, and a 2023 first in exchange for Robert Woods and Michael Carter. Now, this trade was actually made before Robert Woods was traded, so you may have even gotten more on top of this had you waited a little bit, but I still think, regardless, you took this guy to the woodshed, because I personally, give me a random 2023 first over Michael Carter. I think it's pretty easy value for me. I would rather Chase Claypool than Robert Woods straight up, let alone, Claypool plus the 205.
Let me just say it like this. I would have thought you'd won this deal even if you didn't get the 2023 first. Even if the deal was Claypool and 205 for Woods and Carter, I would have preferred your side. So the fact that you're able to also add a 2023 first onto the side you've received, this is a phenomenal deal. This is saying, okay, I'm in a more redraft centralized type of league where people devalue these rookie picks. Let me stock up on the gold mine that is the 2023 first. Heck, I mentioned if it was Claypool and 205, I would rather the 2023 first side. If it was just a 2023 first for Woods and Carter, I would rather the 2023 first side. So yes, I am a big fan of the deal that you were able to make here.
Yep. Yeah, I don't disagree there. So the second trade he has here, he received Trey Lance, and it is a super flex league, Mark Andrews, a 2023 first and a 3rd rounder in exchange for Travis Etienne, Pat Freiermuth, Tyler Huntley, KJ Osborne, 104, and 2024 first. So there's a lot going on in this trade. How do you get to Lance? How do you break this down to get to Trey Lance as an asset here? Etienne in the 104?
Etienne in the 104, yeah, I would say Etienne in the 104, or maybe all those picks, 104 first and 205, would probably get somewhere close to Lance, although I probably might even still prefer Lance. That's about
maybe
even.
Maybe you throw Freiermuth into that to make it even or something like that.
Yeah. So let's just say the picks equal Lance hypothetically. Then you also get Mark Andrews in a first basically for Freiermuth and Etienne. Like, that's a no-brainer to me. Give me the Andrews side easily there. Andrews much over Freiermuth. And then the 2023 first is probably about comparable to Etienne. I might slightly prefer Etienne, but the advantage over Andrews to Freiermuth is way more significant than the advantage of maybe Etienne over the first. So either way, any way you break down this deal, absolutely love the side you're able to receive here. You bought low on what should be a superstar breakout type of quarterback, a guy that I consistently see go in the top 15 of startups now with Trey Lance, and arguably I actually think inarguably at this point, the tight end 2 in Dynasty with Mark Andrews, as well as getting that 2023 first. Phenomenal deal. Love the side that you were able to receive here. We can move on to the next deal, in my opinion.
Yeah, and the next deal is even more of a fleece, in my opinion, because I know, so everybody knows here that Danny loves CeeDee Lamb. I would prefer T. Higgins straight up to CeeDee Lamb in Dynasty, and that's including the recent news that Amari Cooper is no longer on the Cowboys, and it's pretty much just CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup there. Maybe they add somebody in the draft. They probably will add somebody in the draft at some point. T. Higgins in the 103 for CeeDee Lamb is absolutely highway robbery. That is probably a good example, and I think he made this trade recently, of taking advantage of like a market overreaction, because CeeDee Lamb's value shouldn't have increased all that much with Amari Cooper leaving town. It should have, went up a little bit, but not, a ton. And the 103, you're going to get a very, very good receiving prospect, or maybe even Breece Hall or Malik Willis with that pick. and on top of T. Higgins, who I think at minimum, even if you're the most staunch CeeDee Lamb truther like Danny in the world, is in the same tier as T. Higgins.
Absolutely. And it's funny because if this was T. Higgins and if you flip that pick and it was the 301, that's probably where I'd gauge the value to be. Like for me personally, I'm like, yeah, you know what? To move, an early third round pick to go from Higgins to Lamb, I personally slightly prefer Lamb. I would say that's probably about fair value. But the fact that you're able to flip that and you got the 103, like I love CeeDee Lamb more than the next guy. He's my wide receiver 4 in Dynasty, but it is clear as day that the wide receiver 4 to 13 are all in the same tier, including T. Higgins being there, including T. Higgins being in the top 7 of my wide receiver rankings. So absolutely love both these receivers. The fact that you're able to quote unquote downgrade from one to the other and get the 103, phenomenal deal. You took this guy to the woodshed.
Yeah, I think market inefficiencies when it comes to wide receivers are pretty easy to take advantage of. If it's not Jefferson or Chase, there isn't really a huge difference between these second tier of wide receivers, whether it's Metcalf, it's Higgins, it's Lamb, it's AJ Brown, it's DJ Moore, it's, whatever wide receiver you think is like your wide receiver 3 or 4 in Dynasty. If you can somehow upgrade or downgrade among these players, then you're probably going to be able to get good draft capital in exchange for doing that. And, I have AJ Brown as my wide receiver 3 right now, but if somebody offered me wide receiver 8, DK Metcalf, for AJ Brown and gave me a 2023 first or a 2022 first on top of DK Metcalf to downgrade, quote unquote, from AJ Brown, I would easily take a trade like that.
Well, I got a hypothetical for you. What if it was DK in a second? Like I would probably.
It's probably fair value, and I might lean AJ just because he has a little bit more job security and quarterback security than what Metcalf is dealing with right now. But that's equivalent value, I would say.
That's what I mean. So either way you put it, even though I personally also have Brown at 3, and I think pretty comfortably at this point. If you're comparing like literally wide receiver even 3, if you include AJ Brown, to almost wide receiver 15, like they are all super young studs, ascending studs. And then you got mixed in there, your Tyreek Hills, your Cooper Kupps, and your Devontae Adams. Like that range of wide receivers as a whole is pretty close to inseparable. So the fact that you're able to quote unquote downgrade one, which Corey doesn't even view it as a downgrade, and get the 103, phenomenal. He also lists here potential trades he can make. We saw the 3 that he made. These are the 2 potential ones he's been pondering. I'll let you kind of, brief the crowd with them.
Yeah, so they're both involving quarterbacks. And as you guys can see with his team, he has a surplus of quarterbacks because he has basically Tua as a non-usable quarterback for him because he has Kyler Lance and Zach Wilson, or, Wilson, depending on how you view Tua and Wilson together. But he said this opposing owner, there's 2 guys that are interested in a quarterback. Number one, there's a guy that is stacked at wide receiver. He's got, Evans and Keenan and Hollywood Brown, D-Hop and stuff. So he was looking to get Elijah Moore and Kadarius Toney in exchange for one of his quarterbacks. And basically what he says is, should I trade a guy like Tua and Darnell Mooney for Elijah in a 2023 first? Again, that is a woodshed type of deal. Like we might have to start coining that term. Like that is not close. Like that is Elijah in the pick very, very easily. Even though it is, he says it's a low pick. Like it might be the 110, 111, 112. I don't care. I really don't care. I could easily take Elijah Moore by himself for Tua plus Mooney, let alone with a first attached to it.
Yeah, this is a absolute woodshed type of deal. No brainer to me. Go get Elijah Moore and go get that 2023 first.
And then trade number 5. So obviously if he makes this first trade, he can't make this trade. So which of these 2 packages are we looking to do to get one of these quarterbacks off of his roster? So if he doesn't do the trade that we just talked about and he trades Tua to this guy instead, this guy wants Najee Harris also. So if you trade Najee Harris and Tua Tagovailoa, he is willing to give him in return the 101 and what is likely to be an early pick in 2023. So do you go with I would say the safer deal in Elijah Moore in the 2023 first for Tua and a guy like Darnell Mooney? Or would it be worth trying to offload a guy like Najee Harris, who has a lot of value in a deal, a package with Tua Tagovailoa, to also receive what would be Breece Hall, we assume, at the 101 and an early 2023 first. And he said he also has Ayuk, so maybe he could get him to even throw Ayuk into the trade.
If these deals are mutually exclusive, if you can get Ayuk in the deal on the second one, even if you can't, I would prefer it contextually, but I would really try to make the first deal and see what this second owner is willing to give you for Najee. Like if you can get maybe even the 2023 early first and Ayuk, I would fucking take that in a heartbeat.
For Najee? So, I think that's pretty fair. I don't know if I would take that in a heartbeat. I think that's probably a pretty fair offer, but I personally lean towards the second trade because I think the 101 gives you more longevity
Yes.
at, running back, because you have Najee and Javonte, but you don't have a whole lot of depth at that position. So you can offload Najee, turn it into Breece Hall, who I think at minimum are pretty close in dynasty rankings right now. And some people might even prefer Breece Hall to Najee Harris.
I do.
And then you'd also have the opportunity at a Breece or a Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs type next year too, to even continue to fill out your running back core. So as much as I love Elijah Moore, I would probably make this second trade because I think you're getting more value out of it.
Yeah, no, I would agree, though. I would try to gauge to see if you can make a deal with Najee while after making the Elijah Moore deal. If you can. If you can't, no worries. Take that second deal.
Yeah, for sure. So JD, the next team that we got to talk about here, another patron, 12-team PPR, super flex, 6 point per passing touchdown. So a lot of value to the quarterback position in this league. You guys can see the team on the screen here. He's got Mahomes and Watson and Carr as his top quarterbacks. DeAndre Swift, Kareem Hunt, not much else at running back. Cooper Kupp, Hopkins, Lockett, Juju, etc. A wide receiver. Tight end, he has Travis Kelce. He is the 103 in this year's class. 109, 204, and 308. And he's basically asking overall direction. Should I grab a running back in this draft and go for the win? Because he does have, obviously Kupp and Hopkins, Lockett, guys that are more so in their primes than, young ascending wide receivers. Or should I try and retool and maybe sell Kupp, sell Hopkins, sell Lockett, sell Kelce, and build around my top quarterbacks, Mahomes, Watson, etc., and Swift, and try and retool this thing for a quick 1 or 2 year turnaround rebuild type of move?
Yeah, I mean, looking at this, the only running back that I personally would deem worthy of the 103 would be Breece. So, I mean, I'm assuming in most leagues he may not even get to 103. If that's the case, and I'm looking at 103, I'm staring down the barrel of maybe Malik falls. Like, if Malik falls, I would take Malik and then also do that card deal that you have listed under here as well.
Yeah, it's tough for me because you're probably going to be inclined to take Kenneth Walker at 103 because that's probably the running back you're going to be looking at that point in time, because I expect him to get very good draft capital. Maybe Spiller gets, great draft capital if he has a good pro day and such. And we'll actually see his pro day tomorrow as you guys are listening to this, or sorry, on Tuesday is when he's having his pro day. So I probably wouldn't force it. I would probably be looking to spend my draft picks on the best available player. And to me, that is the wide receiver position at 103, most likely, because I expect in a 6 point per passing touchdown league that Malik Willis will be off the board and Breece Hall will be off the board. So if you're looking at Drake London, Treylon Burks, or Garrett Wilson at 103, yeah, you need wide receiver help for sure, especially young wide receiver help. So it makes sense for your team. Same goes for that 109. I'd be looking to fill out your team that way. And I would probably gauge the market on Cooper Kupp, because you could probably get a very good young running back for Cooper Kupp and fill out your running back core that way, and instead replenish your wide receiver core with young wide receiving talent. So if you can get J.K. Dobbins in the 2023 first for Cooper Kupp, then I'm definitely willing to do a trade like that. I don't know if you're going to get a package like that. I'm not really sure how your league behaves, but if you can get Dobbins, Akers, ETN, plus, a first or an equivalent asset for Cooper Kupp, I'd probably be looking to shop him and then take your 103, spend it on a wide receiver, take your 109, spend it presumably on a wide receiver, because I'm assuming that'd be the best available player, and fill out your wide receiver core that way and upgrade your running back via trade.
I will say, though, man, if you feel like Malik Willis can fall to you at 103, though, I personally would take Malik Willis at 103 and then make the card deal, because then you would get a young ascending wide receiver with Michael Pittman and extremely upgrade from the 109 to the 104.
Right. So the deal that he has on the table, he said he was offered Michael Pittman Jr. and the 104 for Derek Carr and the 109. Now, the 104 and the 109 is a pretty big difference, in my opinion, in terms of value in this draft class, because by 106, 107, we're starting to see this draft class kind of fall off. And that's assuming Isaiah Spiller gets good draft capital. If he doesn't get good draft capital, it's like the 105, 106 that this draft class will start to fall off. So Derek Carr is definitely a guy that is probably on the rise right now in terms of value, because he just got Devontae Adams. He still has Hunter Renfrow and Darren Waller to throw to in a 6 point per passing touchdown league. He has more value, even though he's not a rushing quarterback. So Derek Carr for basically an upgrade of a pick and a young wide receiver like Michael Pittman, yeah, it helps your team a little bit, but honestly, I think you can get more for Derek Carr right now. If you wanted to sell him, I think you could probably get something even a little bit better than this. I do think this is an okay trade, like Danny said, to make. If 103 Malik Willis is on the board, you can add a young quarterback to your quarterback core, and then at 104 you get yourself a young wide receiver on top of Michael Pittman for Derek Carr, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I think Carr's a fine quarterback 2-3 type, but I think Pittman's a wide receiver 2-3 type in his own right, and I'm typically lower on Pittman compared to the market. But the main thing here is, in my opinion, in startups, Pittman and Carr are probably similar tier value. And then you're moving up from a guy at 109. Like I love Olave. I love Williams. I think they're really good wide receivers. But at the 104, I mean, you're staring down the barrel of potentially like a Drake London, potentially a Garrett Wilson, potentially a Treylon Burks. And at that point, I mean, I'm taking that deal. I'm taking Malik Willis at 103, getting Michael Pittman, and also adding that young, established wide receiver out of this draft, depending who could be there at the 104 with one of those top dogs.
Right. So in terms of direction, because that was basically his initial question, is should I try and, win now, take a running back or something? Because if you do that, you're not going to have a pick to make at running back. Because if you take Malik Willis at 103 and you make the trade and you make the 104 be the top one of the top wide receivers, is that something you're looking to do? Because then you're kind of pigeonholed yourself. You still have an aging wide receiver core and you don't have an RB2.
I'm not looking to fill up my lineup in the offseason. If you go into the season, you think, you know what, I got a really well-built team that can contend. I just need, a makeshift RB2-3 type. That's when you make your move for, this year's James Conner or this year's Fournette, or you give up.
And that could be literally those
second.
two players too. They could just be this year's James Conner and this year's Fournette again.
Again, at the end of the day, I could care less about filling out my lineup in April and May. I care about actually contending and making my lineup set once the season actually starts. And these, rebuilding rosters have these fodder type of running backs that they don't need to further the rebuild that could really help you capitalize on this team that you built. So I'm not looking at the running back at all at 104 if you were able to make that deal, Pittman and Carr, because I don't deem a running back worthy of a selection over Wilson, London, or Burks.
For sure. And I think if somebody's really high on Juju, maybe you can flip Juju straight up for a guy like Fournette. Like that could definitely be something that you could do. Maybe you could flip Juju in like your 308 for Damian Harris or something like that. Could help fill out your running back core as well.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with you there. Any closing thoughts on his team, or should we go to Kurt's question?
No, I think your direction is basically to just spend your rookie picks on the best available player. It sounds like Danny's in agreement that you should probably make this Pittman trade and basically take advantage of that. What are your thoughts though if Malik Willis, real quick, and then we'll move on to the next team. If Malik Willis is not there at 103, do you still want to make this trade? Like if Malik Willis is going 101 or 102? Well, it is 6 point per passing touchdown. I find it hard to believe that he won't be one of the first two picks.
Well, then I would talk to the owner offering me this deal and say it's contingent on what's available at 103.
For sure. Yeah, that's true. You could definitely wait until you're on the clock or whatever at 103.
For sure. So overall, let's go to Kirk. He says he watches all our content. I appreciate that a lot. He just wanted us to take a look at his roster and he updated us with our moves and a potential deal that he can make. So overall, you guys can see the team on the screen here, headlined by guys like Prescott, Akers, Justin Jefferson, Jalen Waddle, Schultz with 3 first-round picks in this year's draft. Including next year, he has 2 extra picks with the second and the third, and all of his picks in 2024. So he actually mentions here that he could make a potential deal where he would send the 108, the 109, and Rashad Penny and get DeAndre Swift. He said the guy in his league is a very, very hard Rashad Penny truther, and he feels like he can nab Swift for this price. So overall, I'll let you ask, what are your thoughts about this deal? I think we're going to be in pretty well agreement that we would take Swift.
Yeah, that's not even really a hard decision to make at all. I think DeAndre Swift is well worth that package. DeAndre Swift, like to me, he's worth like an early first in this year's class, and then probably a mid to late 2023 first. And the 108 and the 109 are not nearly as valuable of picks as again. Is this a super flex league or is this a 1 quarterback league?
So it's actually a 1 quarterback league here. Obviously, that main quarterback that he has headlining his team would be Prescott, so no real need there. Overall, though, I mean, it makes it even more of a lopsided deal on your end. The fact that you're moving a single quarterback league draft, 108 and 109 plus Penny, to get a locked and loaded top 3 dynasty running back with DeAndre Swift, no brainer. And I mean, looking at the outlook of this team, if you're able to make this deal, Akers and Swift headlining your running backs, a young, studly, ascending wide receiver group with Jefferson, Waddle, ARSB, and Gallup. In terms of where to allocate those rookie picks, I would just keep putting your head down and keep adding young assets to the team. 111, maybe you're staring down. We keep throwing the same names, but guys like Chris Olave, George Pickens, Jameson Williams, those type of guys may be available at the 111. I would just add another piece on top of this core that you have, and man, have a really good chance at the championship. This is a phenomenally built team.
Yeah, I agree. I think at the 204, you can also add another great wide receiver there. Basically, he just asked for the outlook on his team, how he could kind of contend. I think with this Swift trade, this makes you a team that can contend. You're just kind of looking for depth and additional talent at that point. And you do have, even if you make this trade, the 111, the 204, 308, 311 to help add some depth and upside to your roster. So I think you're in pretty good position to be able to turn this team into a contender and go into next year, ready to go.
For sure. So we actually have 3 teams left. We will quickly try to go by for you guys watching home. We're currently going on in about 44 minutes. With that being said, we actually got the next submission from Isaac. He says that this is a 12-team, 2-quarterback or / super flex league and half PPR. His question is, I have 4 first-round picks in this upcoming draft. What rookie / trade should I be looking for? He doesn't actually list where his picks are, but I'll let you kind of contextualize 4 first-round picks. Let's just say, they all fall in the mid-range of the draft. Where are you kind of looking?
Yeah, so it is tough to tell where he's going to go with these picks, knowing that we don't know where they are. Obviously, in a super flex league, your quarterback position is pretty rough right now. Zach Wilson being the only building block that you have. It looks like this is kind of a team in flux, which is why you have 4 first-round picks. DeAndre Swift is really the only stable building block asset at running back, and you got Dylan and Edwards-Helaire and some other half decent guys there. And then McLaurin, I would say your wide receiver core is the most well-built piece of your team. So using your first-round picks, I don't know if you have one of the early ones. If you have the 101, I'm probably going to go with Breece Hall. If you have the 102, I'm probably going to go with Malik Willis. I do think adding a quarterback, running back, and probably just best available players at the other positions is probably the direction I'm looking to go. So if you have, let's say the 101, you have Breece Hall. If you have the 104, I'd probably be looking for a Drake London, Treylon Burks, someone like that. And then at 105, 106, maybe you want to go with Kenneth Walker, Isaiah Spiller. And then if you have a late one, maybe you add, Sam Howell or something like that.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. And I just wanted to say, for future reference on submissions, make sure that the actual picks or potential scenarios of those picks where they could be are contextualized, because it's kind of hard for us to, see 4 first-round picks this year and know directly what their valuation is, because we don't know where they are. But either way, I would just
maybe he has a lottery or something that we don't know about. I've never played in a league where you do a draft lottery or something like that, but it might be that 2 of those picks are in a top 4 draft lottery, and then the rest of them are going to be decided after the fact or something like that.
Yeah, for sure. But overall, this is a well-built team as a whole. Just keep adding young, appreciating assets to this team. No real dead weights affecting this roster. The main thing, though, as Corey mentioned, is you need some type of quarterback building block apart from Zach Wilson too. So yeah, Corey said Howell, or one of those picks is high, maybe Malik, guys like Breece Hall, all these receivers. Overall, you should have a lot of flexibility, a lot of functionality with those 4 first-round picks that you have.
Yeah, I would say the goal for this draft is, if you can come out of this one with at least 1 quarterback, at least 1 running back, and then probably wide receivers with your other picks, just given the strength of this draft, I expect wide receivers to be the best available player when you're picking for the most part. Then that's probably a win for you. If you can come out of this draft with Sam Howell, Breece Hall, and Treylon Burks and Chris Olave, I think that's probably a win.
For sure. So we can move on to the next team here, unless you have any closing thoughts.
No, we can move on to Trey Forrest's team. It's a 12-team super flex. He says he's a long-time sub. Appreciate that. Submitting my 12-team Dynasty super flex team for review. If you have a spot, my number 1 question is it time to blow it up? Dalvin Cook, Aaron Jones, DeAndre Hopkins, they're all losing value every single day. Finished second in the league the last 2 seasons. So that's unfortunate that you weren't able to take the championship home in either of the last 2 years. But he's right. He says Cook, Aaron Jones, DeAndre Hopkins are blowing it. They're starting to lose value. Should I blow it up? I agree. I agree with your assessment. I think, in a 12-team super flex, really only Dak Prescott is your stable quarterback asset. Yeah. At running back, you have a bunch of guys that are either aging or don't have a whole lot of job security in Miles Sanders' case. At wide receiver, you obviously have 1 superstar in Jamar Chase. But outside of Jamar Chase, you have Hopkins and Lockett and Allen Robinson, who are all, in their late 20s, almost early 30s in Hopkins' case. And you have a stud tight end in Mark Andrews, a nice upside tight end in Noah Fant, but not a whole lot of young ascending depth that's going to help replenish your team. And your rookie picks, even though you have the 109 this year, it's not a super, super deep draft class, so you're not going to get a superstar caliber player there. I think it's time to see what Dalvin Cook, Aaron Jones, and DeAndre Hopkins can nab on the open market. I don't think you would need to completely blow this thing up, but you do have some pieces that are still at pretty high value that should be able to fetch some good 2023 capital for you.
Hey, who knows? I mean, at the end of the day, you do have Allen Robinson. Maybe you can get, a 2023 first and Donovan Peoples-Jones. You never know.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
all jokes aside, though, yeah, I fully agree with Corey's sentiment here. The foundation of other than Chase, in terms of your RB and wide receiver core, are all kind of guys that we've mentioned as they're very, very risky assets to hold at this point because their long-term value insulation just is not there. If you can get, especially in 0.2 per carry leagues, value on guys like Dalvin Cook, value on guys like Aaron Jones, Allen Robinson. I know that doesn't really affect him 0.2 per carry, but you know what I mean? Lockett, Hopkins. I would gauge, the contenders in your league and kind of see if you can, move off those guys into young assets, rookie picks. If you can get some league might be able to flip Hopkins for like Darnell Mooney in a second, or Hopkins for Marquise Brown. Like there's certain moves that you can do there to A, get better, and B, get younger. So overall, those would be the type of market deals that I would look at.
Yeah, for sure. And like Danny mentioned, in a 0.2 per carry league, if this is a league that values, immediate production and stuff like that, you might be able to take Dalvin Cook and go to a team that, and my favorite move to do if you have a contending running back like Dalvin Cook is go to a team that isn't a contender, but can convince themselves that they're a contender if they get Dalvin Cook. Because that way, if Dalvin Cook falls off next year, which you guys are going to see tomorrow is quite likely of happening, then Dalvin Cook will sandbag their first round pick that you now own. So if you can get somebody to give you what expects to be a mid first round pick, maybe it's a late first round pick if things break right for that team, but could be an early first round pick if a couple injuries go wrong for them. That would be the type of team I'd be looking to shop Dalvin Cook, Aaron Jones, and DeAndre Hopkins to. I don't think you necessarily need to trade everybody, but anybody that's willing to give you solid value for any of your meh quarterbacks, Danny Jones, Jared Goff, Jameis Winston, I would take, any kind of second round draft capital for those guys, any kind of late first round draft capital. If you could package Daniel Jones and Hopkins to secure a 2023 first, that's like mid to late. I think I would make a move like that if a team needs another quarterback and also a wide receiver to help themselves compete. I'm making moves like that if I can. I don't mind packaging a couple of these guys together. If I can walk out of this like retool/rebuild with 4 or 5 first round picks in next year's draft, that's definitely a success because you still have Chase and Andrews and Dak to build around.
Yep. No, I fully agree with you there. Just, transitioning these old contending pieces into especially 2023 picks if you're able to do that, or, early to mid 2022.
I honestly wouldn't even be looking to acquire any picks in this year's class if I can help it. Because I think right now we're in peak rookie season, right? So draft picks are going to be very expensive. If you try and acquire Dalvin Cook for like the 103, maybe you can get away with that in a more casual league, but most people that, know what they're doing probably won't make a move like that with you. They're probably more likely to give you a 2023 pick instead.
Yep. No, fully agree. So we can move on to the next and final team of the video, and that's going to be from McFly. So I'll let you kind of run through his team and the question that he has at case here.
Yeah. So McFly sends his team here. He has at quarterback, he's got Jalen Hurts. He's got Trey Lance. It is a one quarterback format. So there is no super flex that I can see here. Yeah, it's not a super flex league. So he has Jalen Hurts and Trey Lance as his top quarterbacks. Jonathan Taylor, Saquon Barkley, Antonio Gibson, Ezekiel Elliott, et cetera at running back. AJ Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, DeAndre Hopkins, et cetera at wide receiver. Also has TJ Hawkinson and Goddard. And then not a lot of draft capital in this class, has no first, second, or third round pick, but he has 5 firsts in 2023, 2 second round picks, and then all of the rest of his picks, and then all of his picks in 2024. So he lost in the championship this year, apparently. What moves would you make going forward? He actually did say, after he sent the screenshot, he messaged me that he traded Saquon Barkley away for the 101, which would be Breece Hall, we have to assume.
Yeah, no, that's my RB4. So yeah, give me Breece Hall there, pretty convincingly. I think Barkley's a good win now type of running back, but you're getting younger and you're getting draft capital and you're getting workload right away.
Probably too.
Absolutely. So give me the stability, give me the value insulation that Breece Hall represents. In terms of what potential moves you can make next, there are 2 glaring names to me that you need to be able to transition into younger ascending pieces, especially given the league market I'm kind of seeing in your league, being able to get the 101 straight up for Saquon, Ezekiel Elliott, and I'll let you take a guess at who else I'm going to say.
D-Hop.
Of course. If you can get value right now for DeAndre Hopkins and for Ezekiel Elliott, you have to gauge the market. If you can get, I mean, again, I don't know how your league dynamic is, but judging from that first deal that you've already made.
And the fact that he has 5 firsts in 2023 as well.
I'm assuming your league dynamic favors these win now kind of redraft assets. If you can flip right now Ezekiel Elliott, I know it sounds crazy to, you know, more competitive leagues, but if you can flip Ezekiel Elliott into a 2023 first, you fucking do it in an instant. If you can flip DeAndre Hopkins into a 2023 first, you do it in an instant. Get and monopolize that 2023 draft that you've already pretty much done with 5. Imagine you're able to flip both of those old depreciating assets with Zeke and Hopkins.
Even if those are late picks, you're still going to get
I don't care.
wide receiver, you know, Jordan Addison types or something at the end of the draft there.
Like imagine with the, even still with the team that you have minus Zeke and Hopkins, you could potentially win the championship this year. Now imagine after this season going into the 23 draft with 7 first-round picks. Let's just contextualize that.
Yeah, for sure. And I do also like the idea of shopping them just for younger players. Like if you can flip Ezekiel Elliott and, you know, maybe you have to add in another piece like Sony Michel or some, you know, a wide receiver like Kenny Golladay or something like that, and go after like Travis Etienne or go after somebody that's like a bit more unproven, but should have long-term stability. Maybe somebody isn't that high on Elijah Mitchell because of like the draft capital. If you want to flip Ezekiel Elliott straight up for somebody like that, if you want to go after like Josh Jacobs or David Montgomery or somebody, I would rather just get even a couple years younger, still remain very, very competitive because you obviously lost in the championship last year. You have a very good team. So even if you don't want to get more draft capital for these guys, or somebody's not willing to give you 2023 capital for these older players, just go after somebody that's a bit younger that is going to give you more longevity. And in DeAndre Hopkins' case, like we've kind of already talked about, go after Amon-Ra St. Brown, go after Marquise Brown, go after Michael Pittman Jr., somebody like that. If you can upgrade in terms of an age and a longevity standpoint from DeAndre Hopkins to one of those receivers, that keeps you competitive and you're still getting younger.
For sure. So overall, I mean, you're clearly in a very good position with this team, with this accumulation of appreciating assets. And yeah, that's the advice, man. Like, you just keep putting your head down and keep grinding these people in your league, because this is a phenomenally built team.
Yep, for sure. So if you guys enjoyed this video, as always, hit the like button, comment any of your thoughts down below. Any questions, any feedback is always, you know, read and appreciated. We're free to engage with you if you have any dynasty related questions down there. Subscribe to the channel if you are new as well. 65-70% of you guys that are watching these videos not subscribed to the channel. What are you doing? It's totally free. Just hit the subscribe button. You can always unsubscribe at a later date if you don't appreciate the content at that point. But we put a lot of work into these, and we definitely appreciate it if you hit subscribe. If you want to support us, like I said, patreon.com/fantasy stock exchange. You will get priority to these Dynasty Decisions episodes. You also get our rankings. You also get the databases that have all the stats for all these rookie prospects, player cards, etc. available on Patreon. And check out our sponsors over at Underdog Fantasy and Manscaped as well. Promo code FSE on Underdog, promo code Bush at manscaped.com. So peace out, guys. We'll talk to you soon.